Good morning and welcome to worship here at Elizabethtown Baptist Church. We are so happy to have you here this morning as you join us for worship. And as a matter of fact, that's exactly what I want us to talk about this morning, and exactly what I want you to think about is this whole idea of worship. If I were to ask you this morning, is worshiping God important to you? You would say absolutely. Pastor Rudy, yes, worshiping God is important. That's an obvious question. But if you're a little bit more suspicious, you might think, what do you mean by worship? Well, our contemporary use of the word worship actually comes from the Old English word worthseep. So, worship, and you may have already known this, but worship means ascribing worth to something or someone. That's what the word worthseep actually means, to show what something or to ascribe worth to something. So, ask another way, do you ascribe to God what he's worth, or is that important to you? To worship, grow, and serve. Now, those are three words that I didn't just pull at random. Worship, grow, and serve are the first three words you will see if you ever go to the Elizabethtown Baptist Church Facebook page. Right there at the top of the page, the first thing that you see are these three words: worship, grow, and serve. And the reason those three words are there is that sometime, even before I got here, we decided that those elements, those characteristics, those variables defined who we were as a church. We wanted to worship, grow, and serve. It defines who we are. Yes, just a reminder that what you put on social media does define you. So be careful what you post on social media. That's just a helpful hint. Worshiping, growing, and serving is important to Elizabethtown Baptist Church. Question is worship important to you? And if the answer to that question is yes, then here's a second question. As Christians, or as a Christian, if you're listening to this and you're a Christian, how do you show the world? How do you let the world know that worshiping God is important to you? Or asked another way, how do you let the world know what God is worth to you? You said, well, Pastor Rudy, worship for me is a really private matter. Is it though? You see, the thing is people in our culture, and people I think in cultures all over the world, when something's worth something to them, they love to show it off. At least that's been my experience with any newly engaged bride who's got that brand new ring on her finger. When they walk around, they kind of like to do things just to show off that ring. They hold their hands like that a lot, or rather than passing you a piece of paper like this, they kind of pass you a piece of paper like that, which nobody ever really passes a piece of paper like that. I've never seen it. Or you say, can you please pass the tissues? I got tissues here. But rather than passing the tissues like this, it's, hey, here are the tissues right here. Look at my ring. Look at my ring. They want you to see. They want you to see because that's worth something to them. And not just materially. It's just not a financial thing. Look at my fancy ring. It doesn't have to be an expensive ring. What they're saying is, hey, emotionally, intellectually, mentally, this ring is worth something to me, and I want to show it off. We do it all the time. You get a new boyfriend or a new girlfriend. You want to go show your boyfriend and girlfriend off because they're worth something to you. You ascribe a certain amount of worth to that. You get a new vehicle, a new home. Those things are worth something to you. And sometimes you're very proud of it. And you want to show that off. Ascribing worth to something is something that we do all the time in our culture. Here's the question I have for you. What kind of worth have you ascribed to God? And is it important to you to let the world know just how much he's worth? Worship is a key part of who we are. From the earliest days of the Bible, Cain and Abel, they brought gifts to God. as an act of worship, as an act of letting God know just how much he was worth. And throughout the Bible, we see people building altars. We see sacrifices being made. We see temples being erected. We see all of these things being done so that we can show God, God, this is what you're worth to us. And not only show God, but tell the entire world that our God is worth so much to us that we're going to sacrifice, that we're going to give until it hurts. That's just how much God is worth to us. There used to be a time in our culture where we wore our Sunday best. Do you remember those days? You wore your Sunday best. Now, let me say that your Sunday best doesn't necessarily have to be a suit and tie. Your Sunday best just has to be your best. It has to be something that's appropriate. But there was a time, and some of you probably remember this, when that's what you wore was a suit and tie. There was a time when going to worship took effort. You got up in the morning. It was a Sunday morning. You wanted to sleep in, but you got up in the morning and you took a shower and all those things, and you got dressed and you went and you sat in the service. Remember the good old days when we did that ages ago, when you went to the service? Nowadays, it's not so much like that. And rightfully so. I understand that not everyone can go and worship in a church service today. Not everyone, there are people that haven't gotten their vaccines yet that are still very vulnerable, still in that very vulnerable population. There is a virus that is overcoming and overtaking our society and putting us in a very dangerous situation. And if you don't want to admit that, then I'm just going to encourage you to get your head out of the sand. Because it is having an impact on people. And worship has changed. And again, just to add to that truth, or just to add to that challenge, recent research, including Barna Research and Pew Research, shows that COVID-19 may have permanently impacted our in-person church services forever. As a matter of fact, most people in Generation Y and Generation Z, not most people, sorry, 20% of the people in Generation Y and Generation Z said that their worship practices have begun to shift. So friends, today this is a very practical challenge. Worship is important. Showing people what God is worth to them is important. The question I have for you, Christian, is how are you doing it? How are you showing the world how important God is to you? How are you showing your family? Parents, how are you showing your children just how important God is to you? It is a challenge, but it is important. Because if you answered the first question, is worshiping God important to you? If you answered that question, yes, then the other thing has to follow. If worshiping God is important to you, then we got to find a creative way to do it. This is one of those sermons that's inspirational, maybe partially, but it's definitely practical. Because I'm talking to every mom and dad out there who has kids at home. And sure, for this sermon, you can watch it on Monday, you can watch it on Tuesday night when you have time and all of those things. You can do that, and that's fine. But this is what I'm trying to challenge, is I don't want lazy worship. It may be, families, that you have to start a new tradition. This past Christmas, a friend of mine was telling me about something that their family did because they weren't going to services. And what they did for the sake of their kids was they had a Christmas wreath at home, and they created an Advent wreath with all 5 candles. And every Sunday of Advent, they would light those candles. There are other families that they sit together, and you can cast the sermon to the big screen, and they sit together on Sunday morning and they watch the service together. There are other families that do all kinds of different things. They do a Bible study together. There's another family that I know of, and they will actually ask their children. They'll say, listen, you listen to the sermon. We're going to ask you about the sermon. This is what I want to tell you folks that are at home. This is what I want to tell you folks who understandably can't make it out to service. Don't lose the importance of demonstrating to your kids, demonstrating to each other, demonstrating to the world that this time is sacred. That worshiping God and showing Him what He's worth and showing the world what He is worth is important. Don't lose that. Eventually, we will be able to return, all of us, to sanctuary worship. That is my hope. And eventually you'll make those sacrifices on Sunday morning, even though you might not want to get out of bed. But if COVID-19 is going to keep going and it's going to be a few months before we get back. At home, in your own lives, for the sake of your own families, have sacred time. And show God what He's worth. Show your family what He's worth. Show the world what God is worth to you. It's important, isn't it? God bless. See you soon. Hey folks, always the invitation is to that person who doesn't know Jesus Christ, who doesn't have a relationship with Jesus Christ, to get to know Him and to just experience the love and the mercy and the grace that He has for you. But also the invitation is for all of those Christians, or maybe I should say the challenge is for all of those folks who say that they're Christian, who have already accepted Jesus Christ, to find creative ways in the culture that we live in to worship God. I know again that we live in a COVID-19 culture. I know that so many of us aren't ready to come back to in-person worship, and I get that. But still it's important, because you say worship is important, to get to know God and to find ways of showing the world how much He's worth. Get creative. Show God what He's worth to you. Let the world know who you worship. See you soon.